for this meeting.
I can't see your screen, Sanjeev.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, I've got one question. Can I ask now?
What is that?
I've got one question. Can I ask now?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So yesterday you started with like a material master, and like in that you said like that's a CDP. If material is not configurable,
Yeah.
then also we can use the CDP class. So that I didn't get. So I've got some a similar kind of situation. So can you explain like once again like what you mean to say by if material is not configurable, still we can use that variant?
Yeah, you can see if you want to use your material as for block planning. Okay, so where you want your resource to be classified, and in the sense, you have different characteristics and values for production. But what you are producing, you're producing just a just a material, isn't it? So material has to be part of CDP class. Okay, so
Okay.
it has different variants. It is not always variant configuration. Variant configuration is entirely a different concept.
Mm-hmm.
But CDP class is not always is not always dependent on variant. If it is variant configuration, also we do 300 class only. We take 200
Yeah.
and 300. Even if it is CDP class, when both comes to APO, it comes as CDP class, which is 400. 400 is not part of ECC; it is part of APO. Okay, so
Okay. Okay.
CDP is 400, but in ECC we have so many classes, like you have 23, 300, 200, so many variants. But what
Okay.
happens
Okay.
is, as soon as you in your middle master, as soon as you assign the class, okay, so that
Mm-hmm.
anyway comes to APU as CDP class. The only difference is material is classified, but it's not configurable. That's all.
Okay. 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 Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Because we have got the situation where at this client we are using configurable material, but it has got a multiple variants.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we are using the class 300, and that is we are assigning that one. And in MRP 3 or 4, wherever there is like it's a
Yeah.
configurable material, just
Correct.
assigning that. That's it. Yeah.
What I
Yeah.
showed yesterday is global, basic data. If you're
Okay.
varying, if it is the logic what we give is for all the locations, then you do it in basic data too. If it is
Okay.
location specific, you do it in MRP3.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I got it, man. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
on.
All right. All right. I got it. Yeah.
You can control in both the places. So Kandat, you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see.
I think today we are stuck in ECC. We have to still create some data, isn't it? Still. So yesterday we created FG, SFG, and our raw material failed, isn't it? Um, choosing data, accounting data. Um, quickly, let's. This should be 3000. So as soon as it's your raw material, your price control will change to V, which is moving average. Okay. So now what we'll do is we'll just note down here so that our FG is called J JNFG1. SFG. JN hyphen SFG1, JN hyphen raw. This is my SFG. This is my raw. Okay. So let's create a bomb quickly. CS01 and JNG1 in plant 1000. Usage should be production. Okay. I hope I don't have to get into detail. So here we list out all the components required to produce the finished goods. Normally, if for PPDS, like item categories, I think you guys know all this. But what so far in PPDS, what we normally use is item category L, which is stock item. And for some simulation purpose, for some demo purpose, I've also tried with variable size. Like in there's something called long parts planning. Long parts planning is a new functionality. It doesn't come in standard PPDS. Long parts planning is a new dimension. Whenever you go with the steel industry, okay, in steel industry they produce sheet metals, piping industry, and or wherever you talk about length, okay, the metal is always measured with length, thickness, with some sizes. Okay, so there, the LPP comes into picture. So with there, at times we have always a simulated variable size also, stock item. But generally in PPDS, we don't go with, all this document type, and there's so many, if you go here, there's so many phantom material, very, normally PM structure, document compatible, and there's so many things, okay? And so now in PPDS, general PPDS, we always go with stock item because the whole purpose of PPDS is that, isn't it? We plan, we produce, and we stock. Okay, so generally it's stock item is what we use, and I'll assign our component here, JN hyphen SFG1. Let's say 100. Hit enter. Okay, then click on this header. There are a few things which you need to know. Okay, the bomb status should be always one, which is active. So if you think it's not exporting your bomb in PPDS, see there is no mapping field to this status, but PPDS understands if it is not active. Okay, so the bomb status should be always one, which is standard active, and your base quantity. So I gave 100. So I'm actually now I'm saying to produce one, I need 100 of SFG. So let's say I had to produce 100. You would have seen in implementation, nobody gives everywhere, if it is routing or bomb. So it's always measured in hundreds at least minimum. And click item, go back to this and double click it. There are few things that we need to understand, which adds when it talk about solution, there is one field which I've always used for solutioning. Recursive allowed is, if your finished goods is jn underscore hyphen fg1, even if your component is also jn hyphen fg1, okay, so then without having this indicator, it won't allow you. And you know all this scrap, isn't it? You have component scrap. If you have a component scrap of 10%, every time the component is planned, it plans 10% more. Operation scrap also. But if you have, the only difference is if you have this ID, net ID, okay, so the net is calculated based on operation scrap only. So in realistically, assembly scrap will be ignored. So wherever you mentioned assembly scrap, you can't have assembly scrap. What we do operation, operation is part of an assembly, right? So you can't have operation scrap and also assembly scrap. But if you have already maintained both, if you check this, assembly scrap will be ignored. And in a situation, yesterday I think, or did we saw, I don't know. Think that you start your finished goods here. Okay, the thing that this is 10 o'clock in the morning, 10 a.m. Um, Whenever you have shelf life planning, okay, so there is something called maturation time, and think your semi-finished goods after production, it needs maturation, right? So you can't consume it. Say for if you talk about uh, raw milk and all those kind of things. So we used to have after blending, we had some time. We had some maturation time. Say for example, yogurt. So yogurt always has 1 day of maturation time. Okay. So only for that you don't have to make shelf life planning active. So this is only one example I'm giving. But whenever you have some processes after production where you can't actually consume your semi-finished goods for production, you can always, there are many ways to map it. One is your GR processing time. Okay, so you can always have 1 day of GR processing time, so that your production is finished, but your still GR is in progress. So until you finish 1 day, finished goods will not consume your semi-finished goods. That's one way of doing it. The second way of doing it is your maturation time. The third way of doing it is your lead time offset in days. If you want it in minutes, okay, this is where we do. If you can go and straight away say 60 minutes minus, always keep in mind minus 60 minutes. Whenever you give this one, whenever your semi-finished goods is planned, and your when FG goods is planned together, it always maintains the 60 minutes of gap between the end of SFG and the start of your finished goods. So this also comes to APO. In PDS we can see, but what we see in PDS is in seconds. See in APO everything you see in seconds. Your setup time in seconds, your production time in seconds. Whatever you maintain here, it comes there as seconds. Okay, because it does detailed scheduling up to seconds and all those kind of things. This one concept you got right. So the end will be at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. you finish it, and 10 a.m. you consume it. So between 9 and 10 you have some processing. So in such situations, your FG will never get pegged to any semi-finished goods which is here. It always looks at something which has a gap of 60 minutes. Janak, you got it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So Kandar, so this is one very important field which we can use to give some. I think this requirement, no, most of them will ask. Okay, so let me check. Is there anything else I forgot? Which PPDS needs? Net ID recursive, status long text is all these are for execution. You guys know production storage location is all for execution we want, but we don't need it for. If it is your document, tag item category, then you need to go and attach the documents, and also when you do issue, it will. So all for execution. So and this one thing keep in mind. In one of the implementation, what was happening, you should always talk with PP guy. So the planners and some process team guys always talk to PPDS consultant. They talk to PP consultant also. So make sure that you always go to meeting together, because I made this mistake. I had proposed maturation time. My PP consultant had proposed this in BOM. So when it came to UAT, everything is showing double. Okay, if it's 1 day, it's showing 2 days. Then I came to know, okay, here's I have told them to maintain maturation time. That this guy had gone and told them to maintain BOM offset, lead time offset. So both are maintained. So then it was a big exercise in UAT. It was escalated, and one of us we thought we'd lose our job, but luckily nothing happened. But so you have to be careful. You need to talk. You should always master data team. You should always talk to them together. Because see, master data team don't know whatever you tell them maintain, right? So when it really comes to testing and all, only then everything comes out. So you have to be careful. So now before we create a route, we'll create some work centers. One for finished goods, one for semi-finished goods. Okay. So the transaction code to create a work center is CR01, and I would say JNWC1. Okay. So we'll say JNWC1 for finished goods, JNWC2 for semi-finished goods, Category. See, machine category. In process industry, we use 8. For that, there's a different transaction code. When we talk about classification, resource classification, so then we'll create a recipe. Okay, and in recipe, there are a few things that I want to show: how to maintain relationship between phases, how to give offsets, how to build. Like when I say relationship, it is finish, start, start, finish, finish, finish. All these kind of relationships and all I want to show. Maybe you guys already know, but anyway, we'll see that. And so then we'll create that 8 category, work center category 8. See, even if you see here, it won't even show you that. Okay, so all these are you see, 1 is used for discrete industry, 11 is used for repetitive manufacturing. Okay, and for PPDS, we don't really care about labor capacity and all. Okay, so even when I create a plant, when I show you plant maintenance integration in PPDS, I'll be still creating one only. Because if it is plant maintenance of a category resource, I don't take it to APO, right? So I'm only concerned about those work centers where there is maintenance, and those work centers are in PPDS. Okay, so don't worry about this. So discrete industry 0001.
I've got one question here. So,
Yeah,
Sanjay,
yeah, tell me.
so normally, so that plant maintenance integration point of view, normally what we do, like whatever is the work center we have, we tag it with like the equipment, and we say
Yeah,
this equipment, what should be the impact?
correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
not available in the equipment master, and that is if it is assigned exactly the same as work center. Okay,
correct.
one-to-one relationship. But
Yeah.
here you say like here on top of that, here something else we can do.
No, here we can't do anything. So what I'm trying to say is sometimes work centers are created by plant maintenance department. Okay, so for
Mm-hmm.
their own, it's only related to them. It's not really related to production.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when I integrate PM with APO, I'm only concerned about production work centers. If PM
Okay.
plant maintenance guys go and do maintenance in their resource, I don't care. Okay, so what
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to say is we integrate order type, PM01, PM02, all this order type, we integrate with PPDS. So if they do any maintenance on production related resources, it hits APO only. Others, it doesn't hit APO.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here, because we are using ADA system, the few values gets defaulted. Okay, so person responsible can be mapped. Okay, person responsible also can be mapped as MRP planner. Like you have MRP controller in ECC, right? So what we always do is there are two fields in work centers which we map, either one of this person responsible or capacity planner group, which is there in the capacity cell show. So what we do in FMCG, not in all the industries, in FMCG, what we normally do is think that there are 5 products: A, B, C, D, E. What we do, think that all these 5 products are manufactured in one resource. So we call that work center as 101. Okay, and I call the capacity planner group as 101. Okay, and that capacity planner group is assigned to this work center. So, and setup group I'll call 101. Setup matrix also I call one. This is how I map in implementation. If you go to Foundera, this is what I've done. So you have to be very careful, in implementations, don't go and give funny names to your work centers. So everything should be linked. Okay, so you need to link as soon as you look at it, you know what you're doing. So what I do is I create a production planner called 101 production planner, like your MRP controller or whoever it is in ECC. So we have a production planner, we have a supply planner, we have forecast, we have SNC planner, so many planners in APO. So all your production planners, think that your name of your production planner is, it could be John or whoever. So that will I'll give in the description, but I'll assign a number to him. Okay, he is responsible for all these products, and all these products are manufactured in a work center called 101. There he uses a setup matrix of 101. So when I say setup matrix, there I define what is the changeover time between this to this, or this to this, all this change. It's easy to map. Or else, if you give this as John and this as some way funny name, how do you know what you're doing? Isn't it? So mapping, I'll show you how to do in PPDS. So in any industry, there will be see, production planners are always for one location, like in PPDS planners. You'll have location specific planners. So this guy, John, okay, he may be responsible for, say, 10 or 5 different resources. Okay, so he'll say this is my area. I take care of blender, I take care of filler, I take care of sterilizer. So 3 different types of resources. So on these 3 type of resources, I would call 101, 102, and 103. Okay, and I'll list down all his products here and all his products here. So as soon as he calls 101 in the PPDS planning board, all these products will come up. So basically what we do is we use these to filter. Think that you want to see alerts. I just go and give production planner. I get all the alerts for that planner for these products. Okay. So it's very easy for planners to go and see his own products, his own resources, and orders on his resources on for his products, alerts for his products. Okay, so this is how we map in implementations. So that's the beauty of implementations. You can't just go and give funny names like we learn like J and W. You can't really give these kind of names. Okay, so you have to be careful. Usage is where you are using this. Okay, who can use this? Whether it is used in inspection or quality maintenance or production line or who exactly. So if you give 009, all everybody can take these resources. Okay, there is no restriction that this work center should be used only by production. Everybody can. So 009 is commonly used. And other thing is, which transition matrix, don't worry. See, if you're using transition matrix is nothing but your setup matrix. But this transition matrix, we don't shift it to APO. What we shift to APO is only setup group and setup key. Transition matrix remains in ECC only. So that's the reason we create setup matrix independently in APO system. Okay, not only in our class but in every implementation also. Setup matrix is APO specific. That is never transferred to APO. And then we have this standard value key where we define what are the activities takes place in this work center. So whenever I use this work center, I have to do some setup. Okay, I have to do some machining. I have to do some. I need a labor activity. What SAP recommends is can have only 6 activities, nothing more than 6 activities. Okay, you can go and try. SAP recommends 6. They don't support anything which is beyond 6 activities. If you what they say is if you want more than 6 activities, create one more work center, but never have more than 6 activities because of complexity in scheduling and capacity requirements, isn't it? So when it comes to formulas, there are 2 different formulas that we normally will calculate what is the capacity requirement to perform this activity and what is the scheduling formula. So for both we need to define activities only. This is my setup time, set up into that by base quantity, by split and whatever we define. It's all based on these activities. It becomes very complex to calculate. So 6 activities is mandatory. SAP 1 is the standard value key, what we can um, define. Okay, so it's not restricted to setup, machine, and labor. You can see. I have always worked. I have really done a lot of work on this. Um, you can just go and give whatever name. I had given some funny name, funny to me, but the business wanted like that. Okay, it's not always set up. It's their own processes also we can give. So you can always go and define whatever you want. If it's got nothing, you can just go and create as JN1 also. JN1. See, 6 activities is what you get. normally 001. So here you have, there are some parameters that you have to create. Okay, so that is another configuration. See here, there are so many parameters. So whatever you want, you can create. All these are SAP standards. So in case, so I did, you know, some sterilize. So I created a parameter called sterilize. So you can create whatever you want here. Okay, and then that you can assign in your standard value key, but keep in mind 6 is standard, nothing more than that. So there if you go and say JN1, all these things will show up there. That's all, as simple as this. I know you guys know this, but in PPDS, normally we don't straight away go and use SAP 01 and all. There'll be always some new requirements. More hacker here. Okay. And then the other important field for us for PPDS is control key. Yeah. So one point here. Okay, all the suitability, wage group, all this for HR. Okay, nothing for, even for PP also we don't need all this. Okay, when HR calculates the activities and they do their own costing for wages, they use all this suitability, wage group, wage type, and all those kind of things. It doesn't fall on us. But what is important for us is control key. So control key, I don't care about anything else, but two fields is very important for PPDS, or else it doesn't um, plan in PPDS. These two fields, one is detailed scheduling has to be on, determine capacity requirements. So if these two things are not there, okay, your scheduling will not work. This is the first check that you have to do. If your PPDS, you go and plan and go and schedule, it is not doing lead time scheduling, finite scheduling. It will be because of these two checks. So your control key must have, okay, your, where is PP 01? See, PI 01, PP 01 is used for discrete, PI 01 is used for process industry, CPI 01. Okay. So if you click this and if you say detailed information, see, cost and all is fine, but this has to be on, this scheduling and determine capacity requirements, or else it doesn't do it. And whatever you define there, it will come here, whether you want it in minutes or hours or days or whatever you want, you can define here, and that shows up in routing by default. Okay, and so that in routing you don't have to mention anything in default. And if you check this button indicator, default, as soon as you go to routing, as soon as you assign this work center in your route or recipe, the control key will pop up directly. You don't have to mention anything. So that is another default indicator. And this is where all the fun begins. So capacities, formulas and all those kind of things. So here you can have multiple capacity categories 001, 002. Think now that we have our work center called JNWC1, isn't it? So if I transfer this work center to APO, it takes a prefix of W. Okay, so that in APO I know that this work center has come from ECC. It is not created in APO. So that is the reason W always comes there as a prefix by default. Then your work center will come. Show JNWC1 underscore. It will show which is the plant it belongs to. In our case, it is 1000. Okay, and then it will show you what is the category. 001 is the category. Okay, so this is how a work center comes to APO. Now you have think that we have two categories. One is 001, one is 002. So here, even though it is part of this work center, JNWC1, but in APO it becomes two work centers, two resources, okay, called 00. Okay, so every capacity category will come to APO as a work center or a resource. Okay, so that's how APO works. Just to know, just to segregate so that you can plan individually per category. Okay, so let's work on one category to start with. Let's not get confused. I'm just deleting this. So before okay, I'm having one category. Now we have formulas. So go to PP consultants, they won't help you. Okay, they'll never help in creating these uh, based on your users requirement. So initial days of implementation, we always go with SAP 005. This will go and determine your setup requirements and your machine requirements. So here you can always go and see what the formula is. Okay, so the formula they say set up into operation splits. That is that makes sense, isn't it? Think that you have a split of 4 and your base quantity is 100. Okay, not base quantity, sorry, operation quantity is 100. So you have to split it 4 times. You split is 4. So this formula makes sense, isn't it? So you have to do setup time 4 times. Where is that operation split? I'll show you where it is. It will be in the route master. Okay, so then how your capacity requirements for production is considered. So again, you can go and check the formula. So the standard formula for this is, it says machine time is what we define in your route into operation quantity. How much you're producing by base quantity. Because machine time is always calculated based on base quantity, isn't it? So this is the standard formula we use for capacity determination. You keep whenever, so best practices you should always go and test it. See, it's always you have to sit next to your production planner and do some testing. So this will be the output. Nothing like this. I'm saying 1000 is my operation quantity. Okay, and base quantity could be 100. Yeah. Someone logged into ECCs. Idiots, some guys don't know basic. They go and directly throw us out. See, a lot of people touch the system. Okay, it's not only us. See, sometimes what they do, instead of checking this, they go and check this one. Others will be kicked out. Okay, so you have to live with it. CR01 is what I was talking about. Yeah, default values PP01. Okay, what I was trying to show was how to calculate the formula. You can do it for both scheduling and capacity requirement. I'm producing 1000 pieces. My base quantity is 100. My setup time is 10 minutes. My machine time is 80 minutes. Okay, calculate. So it will show you. It takes, you know, processing requirement is 0.13 hours, which is correct. Total requirement is point. So you should show this to your planners. Until they sign off, you can't decide on your formula. Okay, so the same thing applies for this also. So if you go and here it doesn't end here. This is where we define all the parameters. I was talking about production planner. See, capacity planner group. If capacity, this is write down in your book. If your capacity planner group is not in APO, this work center cannot be transferred to it will fail. So now that I have you know um, I think that my production planner is JN1. Okay, and I assign JN1 as a capacity planner group here. I configure this, I assign it here, and I save it. When I send this resource to APO, this category comes, right? I told you JN 1000. So here I have put JN1 as a group. So if I have not created a production planner called JN1 in APO, this resource will not come there. It will fail in SIP. Okay, so that is something that you have to think. So factory calendar active version. See, this is we'll talk in APO, because in APO we have like ECC. There are so many active versions. So when I teach you all this shift sequences and also I'll show you how to link it and how to assign it here. So whatever you assign it here, that particular shift sequence will be considered for planning. And here I would normally go to any implementation, you would say this. Okay, we don't have all these things. We always in PPDS we open resource for 24 hours, and all these break times off on Saturday Sunday is all controlled by break pattern. Okay, or else it will be a big problem if you have control over this. Your PPDS planning board looks very awkward, and if you want to do any changes interactively, you can't do it because this is a becomes a master data. Okay, now I'm saying my resource is open for 24 hours. Okay, capacity utilization is 100%, and this is relevant to finance scheduling, and this we use a lot in PPDS. Whenever we talk about class resource classification, see, as soon as you give 120, the the capacity available is 28.8 hours. Okay, so what actually it's 24 hours.
San- Sanjeev,
Yeah.
Kandarpin, what you discuss about capacity planner group nomenclature? Can you repeat?
See, capacity planner group, what is coming here is standard 101. Okay, it's all SAP standard defined capacity planner groups. So that will be defined in APO by standard. So this will get transferred to APO easily because it exists in APO. Now that if you go and have your own capacity planner groups, okay, you
Okay.
you
Okay.
decide you don't want to use SAP standard, so you go and give your own names there. So
Hmm.
whenever
Hmm.
you do that, write it in your book. I'll show you what needs to be done in APO. You have to create a production plan called thing that you are here in ECC. You call it as ABC, okay, which is not
Hmm.
SAP standard. It's your way of calling the capacity planner ABC.
Yeah.
Now, when I send this work center to APO, before I send
Hmm.
this, I have to configure ABC there, or else this work center will not be shift to APO.
Okay.
Okay,
Hmm.
because it
Both
can't.
have the same key.
Yeah, both has to be same.
Okay.
Okay, so keep that in mind. That is, and we always map production planners in APO with capacity planner group in ECC. That is how I do it. It's not standard, but that is how I do. That is my way of mapping because it has a lot of benefits, and three places that I've done successfully. So I always believe in that. And yeah, so what I was telling is here I'm telling uh, in 24 hours I can work, I can perform activities worth 28.8 hours of orders I can take, and I can do it. So where I've always used it is whenever I use a resource classification, right? So think that there are three work centers which can perform the same activity. So in PPDS planning board, we call all this work centers, and every machine is different, isn't it? Think that one machine fills 100 bottles an hour. Other machine may fill 120 bottles an hour. Other machine may fill 150 bottles an hour. So you get only one in routing. I can assign only one work center, isn't it? I can't assign all. So in that case, we always control that through resource utilization. Okay. So yesterday I was talking about, see, as soon as I change number of individual capacity from 1 to 2, it got doubled. The capacity available time got doubled. Okay, and this is what comes to APU as a multi-activity resource. Individual number of individual capacity as one comes as single activity. Okay, number of individual capacity more than one comes to APO as multi-activity resource. Here there are some settings, APO resource. Okay, but to master data team, uh, when they have, in implementations, they have their own Excel, okay, where they used to upload values and all. So either you do this or we directly do it in APO. Okay, if you talk about implementation, I recommend to do this only. But now, if I show you this, you won't understand. So let's learn all the resource work center we call in APO as resource, right? Once you understand resource master properly, then if I go to all this, you'll understand. So it's too early now, so I don't want to touch this at this point of time. But I recommend in implementations, instead of changing in APO in mass maintenance, you can directly uh, default some values here, and when this goes to APO, all these values will come directly. Okay, so that is the way to do it. Now I'll come back, then go to scheduling. Exactly same, it'll ask what is your formula. Okay, for setup, what is the formula used? What is the processing formula used? If you click this, it will show you. It is only setup, irrespective of what your quantity is. Base quantity is 100 or 1000 or whatever. Setup time is only one, what you maintain in your route master. So that is SAP defined formula. This has operation machine time into operation quantity by base quantity by operation splits. This is the uh, formula used for scheduling. As soon as you schedule your order, it goes and looks at this formula and only schedules based on this. Okay, so one is determining how much capacity you want. Other one is to schedule the time. So these are used. Even for this, you can go and test if you want. Okay, so that is also possible. And tear down formula if you want, you can give. And there are other ways to do it. In PPDS, I'll show you. You don't need this. You don't unnecessarily make it complex. So this one directly in PPDS, I'll show many ways to calculate tear down time. Okay, and there is something called standard queue. Okay, interoperation times, you know what it is. Think that I have three operation. One is my setup, the second operation is my drilling operation, third operation is my milling operation. Okay, so there are some times, like moving time, wait time, queue time, many time, all are called interoperation times. So at a resource level, if you want to have a standard queue time, instead of not going into detail, waiting, moving, and all you do. So standard queue time, if you want to define, okay. So here you can define directly. This is at resource level, 5 hours, 1 hour, and all. So it always calculates this time. So in PPDS, we have something called compact scheduling. So in compact scheduling, what it does, it always goes and looks at minimum values, not standard values. Okay, so we have to be very careful when you define minimum queue time. Okay, at work center level. Okay, so that is helpful in PPDS optimization. PPDS optimization looks at minimum time. Compact scheduling in PPDS looks at minimum time. Okay, so it could be at work center level. At operation level, I'll show you where it is. Okay, we'll see that also. And I don't want to have it. I don't recommend to use this. It's up to you guys. Because if you use this, it defaults. These values will default at operation level wherever you assign this work center. Okay, so that's why I don't have it here. I normally have it in the routing, not here, in case if required. Don't tell all this to your planners. If you go and explain all this to your planners, you have finished. Unnecessarily, they'll come and give you all this, and it becomes complex and complex and complex. Only if the requirement comes, only you should tell them all this. Because maybe we can do a hell lot of things. In ECS, you can do so many things. It doesn't mean that if you're implementing, you do everything, then you'll never go live. Okay, so you should always go with a simple solution, go live. Then we'll see. We'll stabilize and stabilize and stabilization. In current role I'm playing, I'm into stabilization activities. It's my current role. I go to clients, I'll study their current solution, Then my role is to propose how to stabilize this, how to improvise the system, what all we can do to improvise this. Okay, so then I get into all this. That is the next level after go live. Okay, so make sure you guys don't go and recommend all this initially. I'll save this work center. I don't want to have costing and all because again it'll ask what is the cost center, unnecessary things. Okay, so we'll create one more. We'll copy it. What is it? JNWC1. From this, I'm copying this. I don't want. See, when I talk about resource classification, I'll teach you how to classify the resource and all. At this stage, I don't want. Hey, just a minute, huh? Capacities. Copy this, and it's all there. Okay. And every time this comes up. Okay, I've copied a work center. So we have two work centers created. So now we have BOM, we have work center, we have material, FFG, SFG, raw material. Actually, we didn't create BOM for SFG, right? JN hyphen SFG1. Okay, quickly we'll have BOM created. So now we have to get into routing, CA01. Okay, before we go to routing, let's create one setup group and key. OP43, okay, right on. This is the transaction used to create a setup group. Okay, so setup groups, we need setup groups and keys in more. See, there is till now, in my entire PPDS experience, I've never seen any implementation, PPDS implementation, where they've not used a setup groups. It is a mandatory requirement for PPTs. This is only used to calculate um, the changeover times. So just to show it today, we'll create one group and create just to show how to create and how to assign. But when we get into our setup groups and keys and matrix, I'll be creating very complex. See, this is one I've created. I'll create like this. Let's see what this has. See, this is the group though I've created for. So I'll be creating 5 different groups. Okay, and I'll take the scenario will be something like this. There will be 5 products on one work center. Okay, and for 5 products there will be 5 routings, isn't it? So I create 5 different products, and these are the groups, and for every group there will be some keys. Keys will be like this, starting with the plant setup group name A1, A2, A3. This is how I create, and so extensively we'll create and I'll show. Okay, this is was my previous batch. See, there are so the guys also they've created. See, these are all the keys. So to show how it is, just we'll create a dummy group now, just to show how it where to assign, how to assign. So Janak, are you aware why we use this setup group keys?
Yes, I've never used so far, but in my current one, we'll be using to have the combination of the business rules.
Okay. Okay. There will like I said, PPDS is there. It groups, keys, matrices is mandatory. Okay, you must know this.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll get into details why we need, what value it adds, and all those kind of things when we get into that session. But today we'll just create a group and key for our own purpose. In plant 1000, I create a group called JNS setup group, and we can create a key also. At a high level, if I want to tell, think that there is a milk, okay, and what do you think that you fill only milk? I've seen this in British Petroleum also. They fill only oil, right? There are many types of oil, many grades of oil, but the resource used is same. It's called filler. In dairy industry, the filler you fill only milk, but the tank from where you fill will be different. Sometimes you fill raw milk, sometimes you fill chocolate flavored milk, sometimes you fill strawberry flavored milk, sometimes you fill yogurt. So think that the type of product is milk, right? Then you have different flavors. So what changeover I tell is, if I change from raw milk to its flavor, chocolate flavored milk, it takes a lot of setup time. I mean, it takes less setup time because cleaning is not required here, because chocolate and raw milk is white, chocolate is brown. You don't need to have a lot of cleaning activity. So setup time I would say only 15 minutes. The thing that you do chocolate flavored milk and then raw milk, you need a lot of cleaning. You should not see even one small stain in the tank. One small stain changes the color of raw milk. You are finished. Your Q quality control just rejected. So the cleaning process is entirely different. Okay. So then the setup time is more. So now you tell me what sequence. You always want to do raw milk first and then vanilla flavored next and then strawberry next, then last chocolate. So if you do this in sequence, you end up saving a lot of setup time. Or else, think that you go and simply produce a chocolate flavored milk. Then you next order is raw milk. You do 1 hour, 2 hours of setup time. Gone. All setup times are non-value added. Nobody pays for it. So that's why planners will, you don't have to do anything. Planners will come and give you the sequence. She'll say, he or she, they'll say, this is the sequence that I in a day. If I have orders for all these 5 different products, this is the sequence that I want to go with. Okay. So that sequence you need to ask what sequence that they want to know. Okay, and just save it. This is a configuration. You know what? Recently we had this requirement where groups and keys they keep changing all the time based on forecast what they produce next month. So they always. So the problem with this is in ECC it's a configuration, but in APO it's a master data. So they always want to change master data quickly. Today they want to change, they want to change. But the problem in ECC, it's a configuration. So every time, configuration from development to quality to production, it takes 1 week with approvals and all this. But they don't have time. So what we did is we created groups and keys directly in APO. And then we developed a program through RFC. It comes to APO and publishes it. Okay, so it's instant. So that is another way of doing it. And there is and initially I thought whether it is possible, but we achieved it. So whenever you think you want it immediately within, you just do it, save it, run one program that comes and publishes it in ECC. Because this is mandatory. Without this, you cannot create a routing, isn't it? So that's why there are two ways of doing it. Either you transport it and do it, or if you have regular changes, don't recommend configuration because it takes 1 week to come to production. That's why you should use the other way around. Okay. So now we
But
have,
Sanjeev,
yeah.
does 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 this support, like, this for the resources if we are using for the process industry? So
Mm-hmm.
does this support in I think in ECC these setup groups and all are not okay. I think this is
No, this
supported,
is in
right?
both process and discrete. In recipe also you can see, in the routing also you can see this.
Yeah. Okay, campaign is not supported. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, campaign it is
Yeah,
not. That's right.
yeah, sorry.
Okay, so now we'll see routing. Okay, JN hyphen G1 in 1000 location. Um, Oh, okay, yeah, these guys, I think some PP batches going on. I have a afternoon. I have a different SNP session here. So change is working, create is not working. Create is also working. Why for that? Yeah.
Maybe number range or something that being used
No, no, no.
locally?
I only keep see all the products I create are like this AR, Opti. This is our optimizer.
Okay.
Nothing to do with that.
What does it say? Only
Generated as a syntax. Yeah. Just a minute. I'll call Sriram.
yeah.
Sriram, I'm not able to create routing. When I create a route, it is throwing a dump. It's not logical system. We have not any transferred anything, but if you go to CA01, uh, yeah, a recipe I'm fine. So I'm able to create, but not. Okay, I'll tell you. So as soon as I hit enter, it is saying runtime error, dynpro dynpro underscore syntax error. Because afternoon I have SNP class. No, I've been using this. Yeah, you check this, Sriram. I'll continue. Okay. Yeah, yeah, thanks. Okay. So guys, what we'll do is let's go and see create a recipe, or what do you guys prefer? Until Sriram fixes, let's see how routing looks like. Um,
Yeah.
just talk about. I know you guys know, but just talk about important PPDs until Sriram fixes. So good thing about Sriram is he's got some good basis guys. Immediately they 24 hours they give me support. So
Okay.
here we like I said, operation where we assign the work center. Control key can be defaulted. I showed you that. And all the standard value key we parameters we defined minimum minutes. So default it is coming. So what we have to see here is this part. So here, this is either you define here or there. If you scroll down, so I was talking about uh, the interoperation times, right? So this is, all these can be defined. So what is the wait time? What is the standard queue time, move time? See, you guys must know all this. You know why we define this is you can't expect some work, all the work center to be next to each other. When you have multiple operations, once you finish turning, you always have some wait time. Okay, so that you get your truck, you load it to the truck, and then you go, and you have a wait time. So you load it, then you take it to the next building. It could be the next operation, could be milling, it could be in the next building. It's not directly, immediately you won't start. You give a move time of 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever move time it needs. So that is the standard move time. But sometimes, but you say 30 minutes of, it always takes 1 hour, but I need minimum of 20 minutes to move. Okay, so you can also define minimum move time. Then as soon as you go there, you won't, the operator or whoever it is, you won't simply immediately do, especially in India, you'll say, okay, you keep it and go, we'll see. So you need to have, or you need to consider those times, queue time and all those kind of things. So if you have such times, then you have to maintain it here. Interoperation times are always considered in planning and scheduling in PPDS because it makes sense. If it simply gives you a schedule which is not realistic, and what is the use, right? So you have to maintain all these times here. Like I said, compact scheduling and PPDS optimization will look only at minimum wait times. Okay, so inter-operation times for work center I showed you. If you maintain it there, you don't have to maintain this. See, some people recommend at work center level, they'll give standard queue time. So when you have 5 hours and 1 hour minimum, normally you don't have to maintain this. But if you have, you know, uh, in individual times, you can always maintain this, and don't try to maintain both. It doesn't make sense. Either you maintain at work center level or you maintain at operation level. Okay, and then we spoke about splitting, right? Like you have splits. Your order quantity could be 100. Okay, but or maximum what you can produce at one stretch is 25. So in such cases you should always say I need splitting, and it will ask you how many splits you want. You can say 4 or whatever. Okay, so it is asking for something else. Number of cells is greater than individual capacity of work center. Okay, so you can also link it with individual capacity. Here I'm saying only one, right? Individual capacity. So it is just giving me a warning message, but within one work center also you can use this. Okay. Here also you have minimum processing time. There's something called send ahead. I want to talk about that. Okay, and then there is something called overlapping. Overlapping is before, think that you have operation 1, 2, 3, 4. Second operation is going on, and the third operation can be started 10 minutes before. Okay, so while second operation is going on, third operation can be started 10 minutes before. So you are overlapping operations. Whether you want it, you need to have required overlapping. Okay, and it will ask you what is the minimum overlap time, 10 minutes or whatever. And then you have minimum send ahead quantity. Okay, so whenever you overlap, what is the minimum quantity that you have to send ahead? It makes sense, isn't it? You can't overlap without certain quantities here. I mean, at least minimum quantity should be sent. Minimum send ahead quantity. If your total quantity is 100, and if I want to start the third operation before second operation is finished, I need minimum of 40. You get it, Jana?
Yes, sir. Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah. So These are all, see how detailed it is. SAP has given everything here. There can't be anything more than these in any factory, in any production shop. But what I always tell all my students is, you have everything, but you need to be very strong in master data. It's only ECC. You'll go to APO. I'll show you so many things that you need to understand. Uh, Scheduling, why they take 1 year for implementation? It's because of this. PPDS, CTM, and all to run it. It's 1 week is enough, but mapping and where it takes a lot of time. So now this is operation scrap in percentage. If you want, you can give, and these are all for HR, and this is for us. Capacity group. Okay, we just created one, right? JN setup group, setup key. Whatever we create, we have to assign at operation level. So whether this operation, whether it does vanilla or whether it's chocolate, whatever you want, you can define it. You can assign only one key. Okay, you can assign one key in one operation. That's all. You can't assign more than one key. So that you keep in mind. Costing relevancy, and there's nothing else that we need for PPDS. It's all for the subcontracting and all those kind of things. There is something called sequences. I don't want to touch that. Nowadays nobody uses this. There are two types of sequences: alternate sequence, and mm, then the other one is
Parallel.
parallel sequence.
Parallel.
Okay, so that is very good, very effective in ECC. When it comes to PPDS, it's really not effective. And even though you have alternate sequence, PPDS always goes and plans in the standard sequence only. But then you need to decide whether alternate sequence or parallel sequence. You can't do it in PPDS. I've got mixed opinions. Personally, I've always thought parallel sequence doesn't work in PPDS. Some guys have told me it works, but so far I've never seen anywhere where you have parallel sequence working. Okay, so that's the reason what we do is we don't use sequence, alternate sequence in PPDS. We use classification. Okay, that's the easiest way. See this? As soon as you classify this operation, as soon as you check this, it will take you to this class. Which class? Work center class 19. We'll show. We have a session for this. Okay, we'll create a work center class and all those kind of things. So don't recommend alternate sequence to your client because that becomes very complex when it comes to master data creation, testing, because standard APO does not work with that. So there is a baddie that you have to activate. Only then your alternate sequence will come to APO as a different mode. We call it mode in APO. So every different sequence comes as a different mode to APO. Okay, and we now only map it through classification. And all this component allocation and all, in recipe it's very effective. In route it's not really effective. So that is also possible. What else? Pretty much that. And so the next thing that I want to talk about is production versions. Okay, but I'm thinking without route how to show production version. Let me see whether he's fixed it. I don't get it.
Another name like instead of JNEF1 or something like that, and have a look.
Now anything you give it will take. Any product, it's got nothing to do with naming. They are actually,
Okay.
guys. Last week, what this SD guys? I had a GATP session, a very critical
Mhm.
class. I started, they go and disturb standards. This item category norm. Like if you make to stock, we always use norm.
Mhm.
So they went and changed standard item category. When I'm doing make to
Okay.
stock, it is showing me make to order, checking rules in APO.
Mhm.
So entire class was gone for me. To fix that only, it took 2 hours for me. So that's why what Sriram is doing is he is giving me a separate EC system only for APO, maybe very soon. Every
Mhm.
time I spoil my time only by fixing what those guys do.
Mhm.
Let me check with them. Sriram, we're looking into it, or you need some time? Yeah, I checked just now. No, still I'm getting the same. Change, I'm not, I'm able to do change because change doesn't go to header data. But this create only is creating problem. CA01. So what you do, go to CA01 and then give a product as J1 JN hyphen FG1. Uh, okay. Creating is not working. Change is working. Yeah.
Sanjeev, Sanjeev,
Okay. Just let me know. Okay. Okay. Thanks. Yeah. Tell me yes.
Sanjeev, can we use copy from and probably it may work. And
Yeah.
then after once we have copy,
Yeah. We'll try that.
let's try.
That's also a good idea. I have
And then we will change that.
one. That's also good. No, yeah.
Same.
It's very smart. Create means create.
It's
That's
going.
it. Doesn't care how. You know. Yeah, I thought it may work because it'll only inherit the parameters, but it's not allowing that program. So now what we'll do, we can go to production version. Hey, one question I want to ask you. Are you limited to only 4 hours a week? Is it possible to? I think for Janak it's a problem, right? Because you have very less time with your family.
Yeah, but I can spend more time when this is priority.
Oh, you can, is it?
Even I don't. Even I don't have problem. I can spend.
Because 2 hours,
Yeah.
2 hours, 2 hours, it'll be going on forever. That's why I thought sometimes, you
See,
know,
I've got some tasks, but for this one, I really want to complete. Like, means at least I want to be at speed at certain level, so I can spend my 8 hours.
yeah. See, the problem is Australian time. This normally guys in US and all they attend
Yeah.
regularly morning in India. For them, it's evening, so they come from office and all.
Hmm.
But the Australia, that is always a problem. India, it's morning, it's lunchtime for you that you can't actually. So that's the challenge.
Yeah.
And you come back from office and we'll be having lunch. Uh,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
this bit of or we have to stick to weekends only. Maybe we can have 2 hour session, take 1 or 2 hours break, again have 2 hours, something like at least we can have 4 hours. It will be very good.
Yeah, that would be really helpful.
For you, I mean,
Yeah.
I thought maybe for you it may not be possible, but if you say yes, I'll be very happy.
No, that's fine. See, because I have to, because we have already completed blueprinting. It is not being signed yet,
That is it.
but we'll next phase. It's lots of issues, man. So
Okay.
because we did blueprinting without having any URS. So so it's not easy.
Okay. Okay.
So